Hi, I'm Kelly, and welcome to the Singing Boston. We're going to talk about a very neglected topic when it comes to dog training today, and that's teaching your dog to be handled. So this is handy not only when you're at the vet, but if you're out walking and your dog gets something stuck in their paw, or something in their ear or their eye, if you need to look at their teeth. We are going to break this up into two sections. In this first part, I'm going to use dice, and we're going to talk about doing this with young dogs and puppies. In the second part, I'm going to use Timo, and we're going to talk about older dogs or possibly rescue dogs who might not like to be handled. With puppies and young dogs, it's a lot simpler. They typically love to be handled. So you just make this a daily part of your routine. So I've got some cookies here. You don't have to have cookies as they get more used to it. It's just part of life. Just like every time I pet my dog, I don't give them cookies. When you handle them as they get more used to it, you don't have to give them cookies every time either. But when we're learning, we're going to use some cookies. So for this, I want Dice to be comfortable with me touching everywhere, looking in his ears, opening his mouth, looking in his eyes, maybe giving him some eye drops, looking between the pads of his feet. He doesn't have to like it, and that's okay, but I do expect him to be able to accept me doing this. So for this, and you can see he's ready here, I'm just going to feel in his feet, and I'm going to give him a cookie. Good boy, if I can get a cookie. Good boy. I'm going to look in his ears. I'm going to poke around a little bit. I'm going to look in his mouth. I'm going to give a really good thorough looking in his mouth. I'm not going to just pick up a lip and put it right back down. Good boy. Now, an important part is to be able to open your dog's mouth. Sometimes they might have a tendency to eat something you wish they hadn't eaten and you need to take it out, or if they have a bloody gum or something. So for this, you typically don't want to open up from the front. They can really clamp those front teeth down tight. I see a lot of people trying to do that. Go from the side, use the pad of your thumb because you don't want to cut them with a fingernail. Push in, and then you can open up. And again, I don't expect him to like it, but I do expect him to let me be able to do that. It could be a life-saving thing where I can get in his mouth comfortably. The feet deserve special attention. That's probably the most common that you'll have to do. So we're also going to talk about the feet. That's a really big one because if you're out hiking, anything, broken toenail, you really need to be able to get up close and personal with your dog's feet. So we're going to turn him over on his back. And I want to be able to go between all the toes. If there's a sticker in there, I want to be able to feel in there, not just look in there. I need to be able to poke around. I need to be able to poke around on the bottom. Again, feeling all around. Especially if there's something stuck in there, you need to make sure that they have learned to really accept this because you may be in there a little while trying to pull a sticker or something out. So this is a really important one and probably about the most common part of your dog's body that you'll handle. You also want to make sure that you can touch your dog inside the legs, under the armpits, pick up, pull gently. You don't want to do anything that's hurtful to the dog. I want to pick up his tail. I want to feel here. Get him used to his eyeballs. Good boy. And what really prompted me doing this video right now is my 12-year-old girl, Ellie, just had cataract surgery, and we had some complications. Because she is so very used to being handled, they were able to give her some numbing drops and actually inject her eye while she's awake. She has a heart condition, so it's really important we avoid knocking her out unless we absolutely have to. Now, this is an extreme case. There are not, honestly, a lot of dogs that would probably put up with this, but it just goes to show you that if you do set the groundwork with your young dogs and your puppies early, what can be possible. Your vet is going to absolutely love you for this. In the long run, your dog's going to be much happier because you'll be able to help them a lot sooner. If they've got a sticker in their paw and you're not having to fight the whole game with them going, you can't have it, you can't have it, you can't have it, you can actually get them out of pain and get that sticker out of their paw a lot more quickly. Next, I'm going to get Timo, and we're going to talk about how you approach this if you have a dog that doesn't like to be handled. Good boy. Now we're going to talk about if you have an older dog or a rescue dog who maybe not only does not want you to handle them, but may actually bite if you try to grab their feet. That is not an uncommon thing to have happen. So what you don't want to do is rush this to the point where anybody gets bit. You are going to take this slow at your dog's pace, at a level at which they're comfortable with, and over time, you're going to build up trust with your dog. So to start, I've got my clicker for this one. Whereas from our young dog and puppy, who is more just kind of an organic part of life. The number one thing that probably most dogs don't like are their feet handled, for obvious reasons. If they have a foot injured, they can't be mobile. If you have a dog that doesn't like that, you're going to start by just putting your foot on the ground at whatever point they're comfortable, and they're going to leave their foot on the ground. And I'm going to put my hand here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to treat. And you're going to stay in that spot until they don't move. Now, if you're doing this right, you start at a point where they don't move. The next step is to take the hand a little bit closer. If they still don't move, you click and treat. Then a little closer. You continue in this fashion as long as your dog is comfortable. If at any point I start getting up to the dog and they start getting nervous, start pulling their feet, they start leaving, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to move it back, probably 2 positions. Again, as long as it takes for your dog. Every dog's going to be different. Eventually, you'll work your way up. There's Timo demonstrating. You'll work your way up to where your hand can be right next to their foot. Once my hand is right next to their foot and they're comfortable, as Timo clearly is, I'm going to put my hand on the foot, click as I put my hand there, and immediately take it away. Good boy. I'm going to continue in this fashion until the dog is not bothered. Now, it may be the first time you put your hand on the foot gets pulled back, but because you're pulling your hand away right away, it takes away the anxiety of you touching the dog's foot. You're going to continue working on that as long as you have to. Once the dog seems comfortable with that, then you're going to start leaving your hand on their foot for longer and longer periods. I'm going to delay my click on that. So instead of clicking and removing, I'm going to have my hand on the foot, and then I click. And if at any point your dog shows any signs of anxiety, back up. You may have to temporarily take your hand all the way back here. Usually what happens though is if you do get a dog that gets anxious about that, you've just moved probably a little too quickly for the dog. If you back it way up, you can typically move back in pretty quickly. Once your dog is comfortable with you having your hand on their foot, as Timo is, now I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to put it right back down again. And I click. Again, super quick, so almost by the time they realize that you've had their foot picked up, you've already let it go. And you're going to proceed in that same fashion that we did with putting your hand on their foot. Once they're comfortable with you picking the foot up, delay my click. Then I'm going to start poking around in the foot. Again, it's going to be super quick. I need this one. It's going to be super quick. I'm going to put my finger in the middle and click and treat. And you're going to proceed this way with all 4 feet. You don't want to only work on one foot because what can happen is the dog becomes comfortable with you touching one foot, but then if you move to a back foot or another foot, they're like, whoa, what are you doing here? Dogs don't generalize well, so you have to teach them to generalize. You're going to do the rest of the body the same way. So if your dog doesn't like its ears touched, you may come in at first, just touch and go. If anything seems painful to your dog, it might be time for a trip to the vet. So if I touch his ears and he screams, then he might have an ear infection, or touch the mouth, there might be a tooth problem going on there. So pay attention to that as well. This is also a great way, when you're working on all this, to make sure your dog's feeling okay. If you do see any wincing any place, then that's your sign that maybe it's time to go see your vet. If you found this video useful, we hope you'll give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you make sure you don't miss any of our future videos.